Everyone, I apologize for that delay, but it is 6:48 by my clock, and I'll call the meeting to order. First up, roll call. Heather?
Here.
Cindy?
Here.
Jason?
Here.
Leonard?
Here.
All right, the full board is in attendance tonight. First up, modifications and changes to the agenda. Does anybody have any changes or modifications for tonight?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody here from the public that wishes to speak tonight? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing no hands raised, I'll move on to review and approval for the minutes of April 13th, 2021. Did everyone get a chance to look those over?
Yes.
Yes.
If there are no errors, I will hear a motion to accept them.
A motion to accept.
All right, I heard Jason with the first. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Heather with the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. All right, that's unanimous. Okay, up next we have delinquent tax collector request to retain attorney with Andy Bolio.
Okay, I don't see Andy here. Doesn't look like he's made it. He did mention to me last Friday when I was talking to him that he was having some problems with both his telephone service and because of that, also his internet service, which is apparently on a dial-up. And I tried calling him on Friday as well, and all you hear is a lot of static, and he ended up coming down to the office. We had a conversation on Friday and he explained, it was possible it might be fixed by tonight, but he wasn't sure. So I'm assuming that he never got that problem fixed. But the board does have in its packet a letter from Andy as delinquent tax collector for the village of Enosburg Falls. And he's making a fairly routine request. This is something that he typically does every year, sometimes every other year, but he's requesting permission to retain a lawyer, specifically Von Como, for the purpose of conducting a tax sale in the near future, and needs permission from the Board of Trustees to do that. So that's all Andy was going to ask from you guys tonight. Is that agreeable with the board to give Andy permission to attain Von Como as an attorney to act on behalf of the delinquent tax collector?
Sure. Do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
A motion we accept Andy's proposal to have a tax lawyer.
All right, Cindy had the first. Jason with the second. All those in favor of appointing Von Como as our tax lawyer, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, that's unanimous. Up next, we have wastewater clarifier replacement project bids. I believe that would be Brian.
Yeah, can people hear me?
We can. Good evening.
Okay, hello. Again, I drafted a memo. I'm hoping people had a chance to read before this. I'd be glad to answer any questions, but we're in a fairly unique project, it seems. And in order to sort of stay on track and hopefully get this project going, since availability of materials and costs are kind of going up, as is with everything in construction, it would sort of be our recommendation to maybe accept the one bid that was put forward. Glad to answer any questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sam.
That's fine, John.
I was just going to add a little bit more to that. So if you read through Brian's memo, you'll see he did contact 4 different suppliers. He gave them specific times for response and descriptions of how to do that response in the process. Unfortunately, only one of the suppliers responded. And as Brian had mentioned, time is of the essence a little bit with this. And we're not, given the fact that the other 3 never, reached out to Brian or anything after the deadline, we can only assume they're not really interested. So the wastewater department would like to ask for the trustees to waive the requirement to get 3 bids. And, you know, in recognition of the fact that we actually attempted to get, you know, 4 different providers to give us bids on this, but the other 3 apparently weren't interested. And if the board is willing to waive that requirement, we can then accept the 1 bid that we did get a response on, which is in budget, and then we can move forward with this.
Well, it seems like he did his due diligence. Do we really need 3 bids? I mean, sometimes that's impossible to get anyway.
Right, and I think that's where we're at, and that's why we're asking the question. The village's procurement policy says that we're either supposed to go out for public bid, or if you don't go out for a public bid process, to get 3 quotes from, you know, an appropriate contractor or supplier. And Brian did attempt to get 4. This is kind of a specialized service. It's not, you know, like every contractor out there is going to be able to provide these kinds of materials. But he contacted the 4 that we know are in this region available. And unfortunately, only 1, you know, responded to us. So we're kind of in that situation, I think, Cindy, yes, where you know, we're just not going to be able to get 3 quotes. And so we just need for the board to recognize that and waive the requirement to get those 3 quotes in recognition that we did give a good faith effort and attempted to do that.
Brian, I see this quote's good till May 15th. That's just the date that they need to know by. That's not
until May 15th. That's correct. I think, again, with materials escalating at the rate that they are, they could only guarantee this number until that date. But the contractor did say he expected some increases. In fact, the day that they came up, the next day materials went up 20%. So I think he's just a little skeptical about putting himself too far out.
Absolutely, yeah. And he's thinking about doing this project this summer then?
Correct. Yep. To stay on track with our 5-year capital improvement plan.
Yep. No, I don't see a problem with accepting this. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but you agree?
We knew going in that it was going to be somewhat challenging, being that, as I stated, we have unique clarifiers, and 3 other contractors were all from out of state. And I think that might have had something to do with their not maybe wanting to cross over state borders. We're just in a tough situation, I think.
Right. No, yeah, I think it looks good, and it's under budget, correct?
It is. The one thing that's not included that will be looked at separately is the gear reducing unit, which will be through a different provider. I expect that to come in around $7,000 to $8,000. So I still think we're going to be right at that $50,000 area that we budgeted for.
When are you going to reach out for a quote on that?
As soon as I hear from this, I'd like to start moving on that. And there's typically about a 3 to 4 week lead time on that. That's not quite as critical. The one we have in use now, I think, is fine. I think it's just time while we're upgrading everything else. I wanted to include that in this project.
Okay. If the board doesn't have any objections, I'll hear a motion to waive the village's procurement policy and award Laramie Water Resources the bid.
I'll make the motion.
Heather with the first. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Jason with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Oh, thank you guys for your support.
All right. Up next, we have Northwest Communications Union District Committee vacancy.
I think we just lost Leonard.
Technology's really getting us tonight, huh?
Not our friend this evening.
Well, hopefully he'll come right back here. I guess I'd say let's keep going, and hopefully Leonard will get himself logged back on again. I'll let him in as soon as I see his name come up. So I think, Sean, are you there?
I am.
Yeah. I think you had the next agenda item on there, the Communication Union District Committee vacancy.
Yep. I'm sure the board recalls from last meeting. The village needs to assign a representative, and you can do alternates as well should there be multiple people of interest, but and then submit the resolution to the CUD, ideally before next Tuesday.
The last meeting, I think nobody from the board was willing to step up to that position. Sean, do you want to take that over?
That's fine. Yeah, but the village doesn't have a representative. I currently serve the same role with the town, so then it's not a conflict in any way. So I certainly can do the same for the village.
Oh,
thank you.
Congratulations, Sean.
Thank you.
Should we do a motion on that?
Yes, if we could have a motion to that effect. I think he's actually got there's a resolution in the board's packet. I can read it if the board would like. And then actually you've got a representative. It looks for 2 alternates as well, but I don't think you need to fill in the alternates. And then the chair would need to sign the resolution along with the municipal clerk, who's Andy Bolio in our case.
All right, well, if the board wishes, I'll hear a motion to accept the resolution and appoint Sean as our committee member.
I make the motion.
Cindy with the first, is there a second?
I'll second.
Heather with a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, thanks again, Sean.
Yep, not a problem. Just a reminder for the board as well, for the trustees, that this doesn't necessarily have to be an annual appointment either. So if at some point through the year, someone steps forward and says, "Hey, I'm interested in being an alternate or representative," it's as simple as just resubmitting the resolution to the CUD.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, up next we have trustee vacancy.
Yeah, so board, will recall at your last meeting, we had a short discussion about process, and there seemed to be a desire by the board to, during the public part of our meeting, to have a discussion about process and what the board wanted to do in order to fill the vacancy that we will have coming up with Cindy Minor's resignation and leaving the position. So it's really up to the board, in terms of how you want to fill the position. As you guys know, it is your duty to appoint someone to temporarily fill the vacancy that will be created. That appointment will be good until the next annual meeting, so next March. And at that time, whoever the appointed person is will have to decide whether they want to continue on the board or not. They don't have to. If they choose not to, then they just don't run again. But if they want to continue on the board, they will need to run for whatever the remainder of the term is for that position. So, but how you go about choosing who you want to have to fill that vacancy is really up to you. And I've seen it done a number of different ways with the Board of Trustees. You know, sometimes they've advertised in the paper. Sometimes we've just done it on a website. Sometimes it was word of mouth, and, you know, board members went around and talked to some people that they thought might be interested in doing it. So it's been done a number of different ways. And I think the focus of this discussion was to see how the Board of Trustees would like to fill this upcoming vacancy.
I think if we just advertise a vacancy. Oh, Cindy, did you have your hand raised?
I did. I think I brought up a name last week that is interested and she's ready to take over for me. If we're in agreement, I don't know if, like I said, she's already interested, or we could put it out there publicly. And
yeah,
I just don't want to, you know, a mess on our hands.
Right. Well, as the board is aware, there are several people that have already expressed interest in the position. The board has not discussed, you know, who or if any of those people are of interest to them. The board wanted, I think, first to discuss what the process was they wanted to use in order to solicit potential candidates. And, you know, so you are aware of some people who have expressed interest. You could, you know, if you set up more of a procedure, you could ask those people too to, you know, to put something in writing to you, you know, officially letting you know, because so far it's just been verbal discussions. The folks that have expressed interest in the vacancy. So, you know, I think that's the point of what you wanted to do at tonight's meeting, is sort of set up a process, whatever that process is that you guys decide on, so that everybody understands, you know, what they need to do if they want to be considered for the position.
Yeah, I agree. I think the easiest thing at this point would be just to advertise the vacancy, and then any interested parties submit a small letter of intent before, I guess, the vacancy with the next meeting. Cindy, when are you headed out? Is this
May? This is my last regular meeting, and May 3rd will be my last joint meeting. My closing is on the last meeting's on the 3rd. My closing's on the 6th, and I'm out of here.
Okay. So I guess, I don't know if what the board thinks, but if interested parties just submit a letter of intent, and then we can discuss it as a board, because there are multiple parties interested.
Yeah, I think I like that, Sam. I think maybe if they could submit something by next Friday, so that we have it with our board packet and we can make a decision in the next board meeting. Does that sound too soon? There are definitely some people who are already thinking about it. So
how would you like the notice to be put to the public? Are you okay with just putting on the website, or do you want it in a newspaper? Do you want it physically posted places?
Front Porch Forum, I think, gets a good audience.
Yeah, and we have a Facebook page, right?
We do have a Facebook page as well. Yeah.
Front Porch Forum and Facebook. You know, I'm sure it'll spread word of mouth just as quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so front Porch Forum and Facebook,
and of course our website.
Yeah, and just say any interested individuals have a letter of intent to us by the 7th. That gives them a week and a half.
Okay, by May 7th. Now,
Would that be by noon on May 7th? So they can go out with the packets?
That makes sense.
Is discussion going to be an agenda item, or is it going to be?
Well, that's up to you guys too to decide. You know, I mean, if you want to discuss the letters of interest that you get publicly, you can do that. If you would prefer to do that in executive session, that is permissible as well. Whoever you decide on, you know, would have to be, when you make that decision, you'd have to come back into regular meeting and do that publicly. But I think you can have the discussion about, you know, who you actually want to have or who you have chosen as the person to fill the vacancy in executive session. But you have to come back into regular meeting and announce who that is when you're at that point that you feel you're ready to make a decision.
I think executive would be the better decision for privacy.
Okay, so May 7th by noon, we'll need a formal letter or something in writing from people that are interested in being considered to fill the vacancy. And that should be sent to the village office here. And we'll get that up on Facebook, Front Porch Forum, and the village website. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If nobody has any other questions or comments on that, we will move on to manager's report.
Okay. Thank you, Sam. First item, just want to make the board aware that our SQRP numbers for year ending 2020, so this past year, were over in one of the baseline categories. That is, it's a category that can be penalized, meaning the state government can penalize the electric utility for being over in one of those performance measurements. Specifically, it was our customer average interruption duration. Because of the amount spent on tree trimming in our electric department and maintenance in the department, however, the penalty fees are waived. This is something that does happen occasionally. There's a clause within our tariffs that state if we spend a certain amount on tree trimming, then any penalties that we might receive are nullified or waived. And that has happened again this year. As I said, that's not unusual. We've had that happen a number of times over the years, but point is we won't have to pay the fees because we're already spending a fairly large amount on tree trimming and maintenance of our lines within our budget in our electric department. And attached to the manager's report, you'll see correspondence from Amanda Simard, Senior Analyst at Vermont Public Power Supply Authority, confirming this information and our intent to file with the Public Utility Commission. So next item, I wanted to make the board aware of a bill that is circulating through the state legislature. I'll let you know that Vermont Public Power Supply Authority and the electric co-op groups in Vermont are supportive of this legislation that would give greater flexibility to public power in Vermont to control their own rates. This bill is known as S60 and is currently being discussed and making its way through our legislature right now. Not surprisingly, the Department of Public Service is pushing back on this a bit, however, and is currently seeking a full rate case every 7 years for utilities to receive rate-making flexibility. So clearly this debate is far from over. but the bill is still active, and there is time still for the legislative members to review, change, or perhaps scuttle the bill in some way. But so far, it's gotten apparently a fairly positive reaction from the legislature, which is a little bit surprising, but I think good for public power organizations for electric utilities across Vermont. So I just thought I'd make you guys aware of that, and I'll keep you posted as things develop on S60. Next, I want to give the board a reminder on 2 upcoming meetings. So remember, we've got 2 special meetings that are coming up in the near future here. First is the Vital Village Scoping Study meeting. That's tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. And then we also have a special joint meeting with the Town of Enosburg Select Board, and that is for May 3rd. I'm still waiting to hear from Billy Draper, the town clerk, exactly what time the joint meeting is going to be. I have had some communication with her over the last week and a half or so. And she indicated to me that the select board may want to conduct the regular part of their meeting prior to going into the special meeting with the Board of Trustees, which they did actually last time when we had a joint meeting with them back in the fall. So because of that, she wasn't quite sure what time we would be going into the joint meeting part of the venture with the select board. But as soon as she lets me know that, I will let you guys know and send you a copy of the agenda that she gets in place for us. And then lastly, I do have one more thing I just wanted to follow up with the board on. You guys had asked me to have a conversation with Dave Westcom, who is the lead line technician for our electric department, and ask him if he was willing to serve on the Energy Committee for Northwest Regional Planning Commission. Dave said, unfortunately, he just doesn't have the time to do it right now. He's got too many other personal engagements that he's involved in, and he just didn't honestly think he'd be able to attend the meetings on a regular basis. So he thanked you guys for thinking of him, but he said it was probably better if he took a pass on it.
Okay,
so
we got to keep in the back of our minds then.
Yeah, and that's it for manager's report.
Okay, thank you, John. Next, other business. Anybody have any other business?
Just more of a comment and observation. I was going through some of the old paperwork, and I've definitely been noticing an increase in traffic stops lately for speeding within the village. And I'm grateful for that level of safety support, and I'm hoping that helps. So just kind of share that that feedback. My son was playing on the chalk, doing sidewalk chalk this afternoon, people speeding by, but hopefully that's going to be happening less.
Yeah. Sure.
On that note, we bought those speed signs. What's going on with those?
It's a good question, Cindy. I can follow up with Gary Denton and see if he's looked at his schedule to see when he can get those installed this year. I'll follow up with him and report back to the board.
Thank you.
Jim, did you have something?
I was actually just going to crack a joke, and I decided not to.
I stole your thunder. Stole the moment.
Okay. Is there any other business? If not, I will hear a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel.
I'll make the motion.
All right,
A second.
Cindy with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right, let's hop over to executive. All right, all the board members are back from executive. There was no action taken as a result of that. Jason? He's muted.
You're muted, Jason.
He may have stepped away for a minute.
Or maybe Jason didn't make it back.
Can you hear us, Jason? There he is.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you have the floor.
All right. I'm gonna have to resign from the Board of Trustees, and tonight will be my last night.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll miss you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
So-
thanks a lot, Jason.
There will now be 2 vacancies. So yeah, we'll advise any interested parties to still put in a letter of intent, and the board will discuss candidates next meeting. All right, if we have no other business for tonight, I will hear a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion, we adjourn.
Leonard
I'll
with the first,
second.
Jason with the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right. Have a good night, everyone.